This story is about not hurting women, especially on All Saints' Eve. It's more about three witches going to a coven. It started off decently enough. Halloween is the perfect excuse to have a drink. I decided and called two of my girlfriends to the bar. Anya and I had been friends since childhood. Sophisticated girl from an intelligent family with higher education, she has always been for me the standard of innocence and purity. But recently a murky male character had gotten in her way. I understood, hearing her stories, that this man is something dark. But my holy friend categorically refused to believe it. And Tanya and I had met relatively recently, when I went to a course to improve my English. Tatiana was also a tender and reverent girl, and, like Anya, seemed to be involved in a strange love affair. I, unlike my girlfriends, was not a scarlet flower. I controlled my men from the very beginning. It was good that my hacking skills allowed me to quickly learn all their background. And yet, despite these precautions, one asshole recently managed to break my heart. After that, I looked askance at the entire male species. Deciding that we could all use a distraction, I made the girls rent costumes and go to a Halloween party with me. After a couple drinks, the girls predictably started talking about their boyfriends, and then suspiciously similar details began to emerge. At first it was even fun, as long as the occupation, age, hair color, and other unimportant things matched. Their men even had the same, unpleasant for me name, Eugene. And then it turned out that they had identical tattoos, and it became quite disconcerting. The girls finally decided to show each other, and me at the same time, their boyfriends. And, as you've probably guessed by now, it was the same man. The chances of this man having a twin brother were slim to none. The girlfriends cried, then remembered my indispensable hacking skills. Forgetting about the party, we rushed to my place. Good thing I lived not far from the bar. Very quickly I managed to find out that our grief lover had no twin brother. This swindler had no brothers or sisters at all. This vile creature existed in a single copy. My naive girlfriends, this swindler told me that he had a home renovation, and for that reason, he met on their property or in their hotels. It wasn't hard for me to get his address, and we went to the showdown in an angry mob. The cab took us to his house too quickly. We did not have time to sober up, and on all alcoholic vapors flew up to the right floor. Eugene, who had not expected a trick, opened the door without looking through the peephole. The realization of his mistake came to him instantly, but it was too late. 3 drunken mares burst into the apartment and threw him on the floor. We had an intimidating look, sexy witch costumes and battle coloring. Eugene tried to squeak something, lying under us, but was not heard. We were concentrating on tying him up with the belts we had found on the rental costumes. When we tied him up and decorated him with coquettish bows, we sat down to rest on the defeated enemy with a sense of accomplishment. The clever Eugene lay very quietly, realizing that his every word could and would be used against him. We looked thoughtfully at the body spread out beneath us, considering what kind of execution would suit the occasion. "Let's castrate him," I suggested cheerfully, because it seemed to me that Eugene's expression was not frightened enough. "Girls, I understand your discontent, but we are civilized people. Can we decide somehow differently?" Finally, raised the excited voice of Eugenia. And the news of castration did not please him, I gloatingly noted to myself, watching the changes on the face of the guy. "We won't decide anything with you, traitor. Not worthy." Anechka nailed him. "I'm going to look for scissors," I said, and went to the interior of the apartment. Looking into the living room, I noticed a photo on which are Eugene together with a blonde in a wedding dress, launching pigeons into the sky. What a dog. Finding scissors and taking the photo, I returned to the hallway. For my short absence, this parasite somehow managed to write on the ears of the girls. In the eyes of my kind-hearted friends already splashed pity and desire to understand and forgive him. "Hey, look here." I tried to draw their attention to the photo. "Looks like we have a new addition to our family. There's another one he cheated on, and apparently she's his wife." The girl's resentment has been rekindled. "Where's your wife, asshole?" Tanya began to torture the hapless man, locking her arms around his neck. "In the hospital," wheezed the culprit of all the girls' troubles. Tatiana's hands immediately loosened. "Do you believe him?" I was indignant. "How much has he told you already?" Anechka nodded in agreement, and the next moment she was pressing her knee into my groin. "Tell me what hospital she was in." Not expecting such cruelty from gentle Anechka, Eugene quickly told me in a falsetto not only the name of the hospital and his wife's name, but also the phone number to check. Dialing the number, I asked to call his wife. "Tamara is in surgery," the receptionist informed me. "What surgery?" I asked in a daze. "A heart operation," the girl answered, a little irritated. "And what other procedures do you think a cardiologist can perform?" So she's not sick. I stretched out in surprise, hanging up the phone. I did not say that she is a patient, tried to shrug his shoulders Eugene. Enough. You will not deceive anyone else. I predatorily brought the scissors over the quiet guy. He squeezed his eyes shut and opened them only when he heard the crackle of fabric. I dashingly cut the clothes on him, and the girls, getting into a frenzy, helped to tear and pull off the rest of the fabric from Zhenya. In a couple of minutes, exposed Casanova lay completely naked, armed with lipsticks. We wanted to leave a message on Eugene's body for his wife, and with a sense of deep satisfaction to leave the scene of the crime. But I stopped looking at the naked and humiliated Eugene. I remembered how I myself had suffered from betrayal and lies. I realized that revenge would not fix anything. She turned to her friends. I saw in their eyes the same feelings: pain, anger, disappointment. But we're better than that. She took a deep breath and said softly, "Girls, let's stop. Let him be held accountable for his actions, but not by us. Let's forgive him. There is an abyss in his soul as much as there is in our hearts. He needs healing, not punishment." My friends looked at me in surprise. I continued, "Let us leave with peace in our souls. Revenge destroys us first and foremost, and he will get what he deserves from fate. Believe me, everyone will reap the fruits of their deeds." I handed Eugene his clothes and gave him a sympathetic look. He was shocked. We left the apartment in silence, and I felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. We had made the right choice, a choice to love instead of hate. That night had changed us. I remembered that night many times later. As it turned out, that's when our fortunes took a turn for the better. I realized that I didn't want to look for love among cheaters anymore. I decided to focus on myself, on my favorite work and friends, and suddenly love itself knocked on my heart, honest and sincere. After breaking up with Eugene, I could not open my heart to a new relationship for a long time. I was afraid of being deceived and disappointed again. So, I focused on my career as a programmer and socializing with my girlfriends. But one day, during a conference on information technologies, I met Andre, a similar specialist. We immediately found a common language and talked the whole evening over a glass of wine about everything in the world. It was easy and comfortable with Andre. He turned out to be an interesting conversationalist, well-read and erudite. At the same time, he was modest and attentive to others. We often crossed paths at events, and soon realized that we did not want to part. Andre was the complete opposite of me: calm, balanced and wise. Next to him I felt peace and harmony. Years later, Andre proposed to me at sunset during a trip to Egypt. I happily agreed. We have been together for 10 years. We have wonderful children growing up, and love and understanding reign in our hearts. I am grateful to fate for meeting my soulmate, and I am no longer afraid to trust and love truly. After the breakup with Eugene, Anya immersed herself in her studies and did not look for relationships until she graduated from medical school. But in practice at the Children's Hospital, she met a young pediatrician, Dimitri. Dimitri had just finished his residency and was very enthusiastic about his work. He spent long hours with young patients, thinking up ways to make their treatment easier. The children adored him. Gradually, Anya and Dimitri became friends. They were interested in discussing complicated medical cases and finding ways to solve problems. Anya admired his dedication to his profession and his ability to find an approach to children. 3 years later, Dimitri proposed to Anya right in their favorite medical center. They got married 6 months later. Together they opened a private children's clinic where they treated babies with various ailments. They gave birth to 2 beautiful boys, who also decided to become doctors. Now Anya and Dimitri continue to save children's lives, enjoying every moment together. They are united by their love for the profession and for each other. After parting with Eugene, Tanya decided to fully focus on her career as an English teacher. She worked hard to open her own language school. A few years later, her dream came true. Tanya opened a school where she enjoyed teaching students of different ages. She found her calling in passing on knowledge and helping people. One of Tanya's first students was Andre, a young boy who dreamed of going to work abroad. He turned out to be very capable and made great progress in English in a short period of time. After the course, Andre got a job in a foreign company, and after a couple of years, he asked Tanya out on a date to thank her for her help. Tanya fell in love unnoticed. A year later, Andre made her an offer. Together they traveled a lot and worked in different countries. They had 3 daughters, who also learned English at their mom's school. Tanya still teaches and helps people to unlock their potential. Next to her, her beloved husband and children are her main students in life. So one wise choice on that Halloween night changed our lives forever for the better. We found happiness because we acted on our conscience. It's a lesson I will always remember. As for Eugene, after that night, I didn't hear from him for a long time. But many years later, our fate with him unexpectedly crossed. One day in the subway, I saw a familiar face, aged, exhausted Eugene. He recognized me and looked away. I decided to approach him and talk to him. It turned out that after our visit, his wife learned the truth and filed for divorce. Eugene became depressed, drank a lot, and eventually lost his job. As the years went by, he was never able to get out of this quagmire. He worked odd part-time jobs and lived on a bare stomach. He never had children. Loneliness and frustration filled his life. I truly felt sorry for him. We talked for a while, and he apologized for that incident many years ago. I forgave him from the bottom of my heart. We parted in peace. I really hope that at least at the end of his life, Eugene was able to find peace and reconciliation with himself. After his divorce from Eugene, his wife Tamara's life went downhill. Having learned the whole truth about her husband, she was in shock and despair. After all, she sincerely loved him and trusted him. Treason and lies became for her a heavy blow. Tamara withdrew into herself, stopped communicating even with close friends. She went to work to dull the pain. She began to drink a lot in the evenings alone. Her career as a successful heart surgeon went downhill. She went from being a respected doctor to a cynical professional who only treated for money. Patients began to complain about her coldness and indifference. Tamara's personal life also reached a dead end. She was never able to trust anyone else and open her heart. Only many years later, when Tamara retired, she was able to look back at her life from the outside and realize that she had trapped herself in hatred and loneliness because of her husband's betrayal. I want to believe that at the end of her life, Tamara found the wisdom to forgive and let go of the past, and found the strength to be happy. Our story about 3 gullible girls and Eugene vividly demonstrates how one betrayal can forever change the lives of many people. Eugene's frivolous behavior brought us pain and disappointment. Our faith in people and relationships was shattered. But the most tragic consequences were experienced by Eugene's wife Tamara. For her, her husband's betrayal was a real blow, after which she was never able to recover. All her life, Tamara carried this pain and distrust of people. And Eugene himself eventually lost his family and loved ones. Loneliness and depression accompanied him for the rest of his life. He was never able to build strong and sincere relationships. This sad experience teaches us to value and cherish love, trust, and loyalty. Distrust destroys families and human destinies, but loyalty and forgiveness make us stronger. From mistakes we learn to forgive and change for the better. That Halloween night could have ended in tragedy for us if we had given in to feelings of revenge and anger. Thankfully, at a crucial moment, I stopped and realized that we were embarking on a dangerous path. How easy it was to lose control and cross the line. We were already prepared to physically harm, humiliate, and insult Eugene. Our hearts were filled with a thirst for revenge, but we were able to restrain ourselves, to look at the situation soberly, and chose forgiveness over revenge. It took great courage and wisdom to overcome our darkest impulses. I realize now that it was that decision that changed our entire fate. We saw the abyss, but we didn't fall into it. And we grew as individuals, gained valuable experience. I'm grateful to life for that lesson. It taught me compassion and forgiveness. It showed me that revenge destroys us first and foremost, and mercy makes us stronger and wiser.